Thank you, Merv, as evaluator for me. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests online and in the room. Who here has a concern for the environment and Earth's climate? I see hands up online and in the room as well. Maybe some of your concerns are stronger than others. Are you a climate skeptic? I am smitten by hydrocarbons. Climate has always been changing. We have had ice ages in the past, and humanity can survive any change that comes to it. We will adapt naturally. Or are you a climate fanatic? Smitten by wind turbines. Climate is changing irreversibly as far as I'm concerned. And unless we stop using hydrocarbons, stop all activity which is producing CO2, humanity will not be able to survive or adapt. Well, both those views are present today, but my personal view is that we need to be pragmatic. We need to accept that the climate is changing because of human activity, because of the increase in CO2 in the environment that's at levels which haven't been seen for many hundreds of thousands of years. There's the inextricable link of the CO2 in terms of greenhouse gases and the rising sea levels, the rising temperature. So we're complete net zero, which is the theme for my speech, my talk, the project I'm trying to promote, which is encouraging us all to consider what complete net zero means for us, for the organizations we're part of, and as part of a society. So what do we mean by net zero? Well, there was a climate change negotiator called Fahara Yamin, who in the 2010s, well, almost 25 years ago now, was part of the group putting together the arrangements for the Paris Climate COP in 2014. And she had an idea that in her concern for the climate, that what we needed to do was find a way of describing it which captured our attention. And she coined the phrase of having a net zero emissions by 2050 is something that we should all be aspiring to, something in our lifetime. And that was adopted by the 2015 Climate Change Agreement, and targets were set. In 2050, we have this target for 1.5 degrees of increase in temperature from a baseline of 1850 to 1900, where the Industrial Revolution was when the CO2 emissions from coal, then oil, then gas started. Sadly, in the last year, the rate of increase in temperature compared to that baseline of Industrial Revolution starting, we were already at 1.47 degrees, so already at a point where climate has changed significantly. So what I'm encouraging us to do is to consider in a way of taking aim at that target. What can we do? And I have created an idea that an acronym of AIM, something we'll be smitten by, can stand for taking action. And not only action for ourselves, but influencing others. But what does the M stand for? Stands for measuring. It's so helpful and important to measure such that you can compare to a baseline and see the choices that you make, particularly in terms of carbon footprint. In a previous speech, I talked about it as individuals, what we might do. We've had some table topics on that at meetings in the past. But as an organisation, if we think of ourselves as being part of PMI, which our president described very eloquently at the start, and also TMI, Toastmasters, what things do those organisations do? And in fact, you can think of the organisations you're part of. What do they do? And what can they consider as their carbon footprint? So we look at the organisations that we're part of PMI and TMI, there's probably three things we can consider. There's the fact we have hybrid meetings, online meetings. There's the fact that we can travel to meetings as a club, but also there's travel to international meetings. So covering all those separately, as a hybrid club, some people would say, well, I think we should always be getting together. We should be traveling as much as we want because getting together is what it's all about. I think hybrid is fantastic. I don't need to use any carbon footprint apart from the electricity I use and heating my home. So actually having hybrid meetings is ideal for me. To be pragmatic, the benefit of hybrid meetings, better than being part of this club, is that it can engage with people who are remote, who can join the club and be remote members. In fact, there are those of us who want to join in person when we can, but it allows us to participate when we're not there. And it allows us to optimize our carbon footprint. The second and third points were around travel. So here I am thinking, being smitten by hydrocarbons. Well, I want to drive anywhere, everywhere. I want to go, I want to fly where I can. So actually to go to all these meetings, and it doesn't matter what my carbon footprint is. I don't want to go to any meetings anymore because of the carbon footprint, unless I can walk or cycle. Be pragmatic. If we are going to travel, we should consider using public transport, using electric vehicles, or indeed car sharing, which is an interesting subject in its own right. And if we're going to go internationally, well, we have to think very hard about the choices we make about going internationally. Should we be traveling and make the best of a single trip to do multiple things? Or maybe we should be considering the carbon offsetting that we can do. So those are examples of things that organizations can do in thinking about their carbon footprint. But it's us as individuals, as part of the organizations, who can encourage that and actually consider our own carbon footprint. So let me leave you with this reminder of my call to action, and that's to take aim at the target of net zero, the fact we need to adapt, and in different parts of the world adapt differently. We need to take action, influence others, our colleagues, our friends, and measure what is your carbon footprint and what choices are you making. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.